Welcome
to the hopeless dream.
the hopeless dream once again.
We are live today from the crypt.
The crypt has opened its musty, moldy doors.
And we have populated it with skulls and horrendous creatures from your worst nightmares.
Ooh. So look away if you can't handle the terrible nightmares that we're about to conjure up.
It's gonna be dark. It's gonna be fearful. It's gonna be nightmarish. I think this time.
It's gonna be horrible. One of the worst, most fear-inducing streams that you'll ever watch in your pathetic lives.
I couldn't say it better. This is exactly where we are.
And we have two terrible chatters. We got the haunted Tatsavitrier, and we got the demonic prize crew joining us for a horrible evening.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it won't be that bad. We'll see.
We'll see. But I mean, the game is called Alone Against Fear.
Yeah.
So already there you have it. There's gonna be like insanity-inducing stuff, and there's gonna be empty alleyways and dark shadows and nightmares coming through from all directions at once.
Yeah. And let's see if our feeble minds will be able to cope with this level of insanity.
Yeah, I mean, this is a print and play game by Andrea Sveligoy from Ganesha Games. And Andrea, he's actually best known for a series of games called 4 Against Darkness. And they are also print and play games. You can also do a print on demand thing where you get them, you get the whole book sent to you in soft cover or hardcover. And the 4 Against Darkness series has been super successful. It's basically an sort of 80s D&D vibe. So it's Dungeons and Dragons. You have like clerics and dwarves and halflings and wizards and fighters running around in dungeons and fighting monsters and finding treasures and gaining magic spells and rescuing princesses or whatever. And Alone Against Fear is a spin-off from the 4 Against Darkness series. So in the 4 Against Darkness series, as the name kind of implies, you have 4 characters. So you have a little party that moves through the dungeon. But in this game, you're just alone. You're just one. So we just have a single character.
Which is the most frightening number.
Yes. And, we can't spread the pain among 4 different characters. So we have to take all the pain ourselves, all the insanity-inducing stuff. We just have to endure that ourselves.
Yeah.
And as you can see, it's also a game that, at least in our version of the game, is going to be played on pink Post-it notes. And they're also pretty horrible.
Well, we looked at we always try to sort of dress the table so there's a little bit of eye candy. And it was almost, to be frank, it was super boring when we put up the playing mat or whatever you call it.
Yeah, there is a sort of a thing you can print out that you can play the game on, which is kind of a map that consists of quadrants that you move between in the game. There's not a lot of art on it, and for our table, it just became this big wide thing in the middle of the table. So we decided that we would go for Post-it notes instead, and then just let the Post-it notes kind of, multiply and spread over the table as the evening progresses.
Yeah.
And we've already decided that we're, I hope you can see this, guys, in the old chapel.
The old chapel.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, always the most spooky place to be.
As we play these games, we rarely look at too much into them before we play them because we want them to be fresh for ourselves as well. And the vibe here is sort of a Lovecraftian horror vibe, I would say.
Yeah.
But perhaps a little more pulpy. So there is this thing about Lovecraft and his place in modern horror games. And of course, Lovecraft was this author from the first half of the 20th century, and he wrote all these cosmic horror tales where the point of the stories are, don't show the monster. It's all about insinuating. It's all about something that is just, at the edges of your visions. It's shadows on a wall. It's weird sounds from the basement, but it's never this full-on confrontation. And when it is this full-on confrontation, people just usually just go mad or off themselves right away. But what has happened in the modern way that Lovecraft is used is become what I call sort of Lovecraft twice removed, in the sense that Lovecraft has become something that you use for pulp scenarios. So you go monster bashing in the Lovecraft universe. That's very popular. Most of the games you find on shelves that have something to do with Cthulhu or Lovecraft, it's really all about monster bashing. And that, of course, takes away the core of what Lovecraft was all about, which was this feeling of some kind of larger existential dread that was out there that was somehow infringing on your mind and draining your sanity, but that you couldn't really fight. I remember growing up playing Call of Cthulhu role-playing games, and you would encounter these, I mean, you come from like a Dungeons and Dragons background where you can meet, I don't know, trolls and rust monsters and gelatinous cubes or whatever. But however weird
I always
it is,
hated the gelatinous cubes.
everyone hated the gelatinous cube, right? So, but you could always fight them. I mean, no matter what came against you, you could fight them. You could have a spell, and you could do something about them. And when you first start playing Call of Cthulhu, the role-playing game, you look in the monster manual where you see some of these creatures, and they're just impossible to do anything about. They're just like, how are we ever going to play this game? Because if we encounter any one of these entities, we're just going to die, either from fright, or they're just going to flick us out of existence.
Yeah, or turn us insane.
So then what is the game about? Well, clearly it's not about defeating these entities in any kind of, man-to-monster combat, but it's much more about trying to prevent them from coming into this world, or somehow keeping them at bay. But you also always have that feeling that at some point they will break through the barrier, and they will engulf you, and they will destroy humanity and civilization and everything, because we're just a speck. But that's what creates the horror, really, that you can never defeat the enemy.
It's more about navigating around the enemy.
Yeah, and a lot of the enemy really has to do with your own sanity, right? The less sanity you have, the more likely you are to experience these horrors that are all around us. But in everyday life, where you have your routines and you have your home and you go to work, you don't really see or feel all the horrors around you. The cosmic horror is always there, but you can sort of close it off from your daily existence. And Lovecraft is really all about what happens when those barriers start to break down, and the cosmic horror that is constantly present, it enters into everyday life. And in this game, as I said, I think we're more in the more pulpish approach to Lovecraft, so things will manifest in a more physical way. But I think our approach to it is gonna be to still try to keep it at that level where everything we encounter is really something we encounter inside ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Because the fighting monsters has become trivial. not of course on a personal level in real life, but in games.
Yeah.
And I think that's what
monsters have become obstacles.
Yeah, exactly.
They've
become a vessel for experience points.
Monsters have become like a high wall that you have to climb over, or a dark tunnel that you have to go through, and that's basically it.
Yeah, it's like the part of the grind.
Yeah.
And speaking of gelatinous cubes, there are monsters that are so stupid and so meaningless that they bring nothing to the table except for like a bump in the road.
Yeah. They don't really put you in that frame of mind of the horror of it. It puts you rather in the frame of mind. So how do we tactically now organize our party to be able to defeat this thing that manifested in front of us? And the focus is not really on the creature or the horror that it imparts, but it's on how do we best organize ourselves in a way so we can defeat it.
In a sense, the dungeon crawling is kind of silly, because why do you have to go through a dungeon and defeat all these low-level monsters that you you can defeat them no problems. They may take a little bit of your hit points, but it's not really a problem. You rest before you meet the boss, so it's fine.
Yeah.
What is really the point of those silly little encounters that aren't the main storyline, that are just like bumps in the road?
Yeah. And I think when you reduce it to that, then it becomes less interesting, because then the only thing that they do is that they allow you to harvest experience points so you can grow as a character, and so you can defeat even larger monsters. But even the larger monsters have the same effect, right? They're just bigger bumps in the road.
Yeah. And if you even level up before you meet them, then it's just like the whole game system has just traveled with you to this next dungeon. So yes, the monsters have reached a higher level, but so have you. So what is really going on here?
And that is why I loved it when Call of Cthulhu role-playing game came out, because there's no way that you can level up enough to defeat any of these creatures that you're up against. And there's a much more interesting premise for story, and it's much more interesting premise for trying to understand the psychology of the characters that you're playing, because you have to deal with the trauma of just knowing that these things exist. I mean, seeing them or fighting them is out of the question. It's not interesting. What is interesting is how do they impact your life in the game. You can play an entire Call of Cthulhu role-playing game session without ever seeing any of these creatures. You just read about them in books. You see pictures on walls. You may have glimpses in dreams or visions, and that's the whole story.
Yeah. So, you could also just say, if you could erase all the enemy encounters that aren't connected with the story, you would already have a much better game.
Yeah.
Or if you could also look at it the other way around. If you could introduce a story element to each and every single encounter, you would have a much more interesting story. Doesn't matter if you beat the encounter or not. That could even be part of the story.
Right.
But just having mindless encounters in general in Dungeons & Dragons or in role-playing games, it's questionable. It's a questionable practice.
It is a questionable practice that too many young people engage in these days.
Repent.
So as always, we're gonna try to storytell our way out of it.
Yeah,
and
maybe bring some legitimacy to some of these encounters.
Yeah, I mean, let's see what we can do. We're super excited to try it out. We have no idea what's going to happen, and that's not just because we didn't study the game, but it's also because it's really a game of random encounters, and then trying to make sense of these random encounters and create stories between them. And it also shows, like so many other games we played on stream, that you don't need a game to deliver a coherent narrative, but you need a game to deliver a world that you can navigate in. Yeah. And when you understand the world, that's when you start to be able to build a story. And today, I have no idea what this world is.
No. Well, we have Old Chapel.
We're in the Old Chapel. We know that for sure, and we also put out a few horrible things on the table here because we have an idea that is something that's lurking at the edge of our imagination or whatever it is, our private anxieties, but we really have no idea what the world is. So we're going to discover this world. What I can tell you off the bat is that we are waking up in a city. It's a modern city, but something is off. We used to have a job. We used to live like a trivial existence, and when we woke up this morning, something was different. Like the streets were deserted. There were disconcerting howling in the streets, and it wasn't the wind. It's like there's some other voices or tunes that's mixed in with the wind. And we see people, like lone people, just running through the streets, screaming or cowering. We're seeing big shadows on walls. We have no idea what's going on, but there is apparently a complete breakdown of society happening. And we can't even really remember who we are, what we did, but we did have on, one of those uniforms that you'll find like cheap department store uniforms, or someone who works at a gas station. And there was a little name tag that was sitting there, and it was bloodied. And we kind of removed the blood with our thumb, and over that it said Melvin.
Melvin.
But are we Melvin, or is this just some kind of jacket that we borrowed or took off someone else?
How well does it fit?
Well, it's a little tight around the shoulders, but I think we're pretty, standard build.
Could also just be that there's one size fits all in this in that company we work for.
And maybe that's you just.
But let's just pretend that we're Melvin. It might do us good to just have some sort of anchor of a personality.
And also, I don't remember living in an old chapel. Do you?
No, not at all. I don't remember much.
No, that's the thing. I mean, but I'm pretty sure that, we had a room or something. And also, like, we're kind of aging. So if we worked in an apartment store, we would be one of those, old geezers who know, everything about perfume or diamonds or dairy products and can tell you everything about it, and would rather actually talk at length with the customers than sell anything. No, we're not really loyal to.
Good at greeting customers.
We're good at absolutely. We can charm them, and then some younger salesman will sell the product. I mean, that's at least how I see it. Or perhaps we have, because we're getting old. I mean, we may have a lot of memories, experiences, things stored in our mind that we just need to unlock again. And it's like when these changes happen, when you wake up one day and your life changes, and sometimes it's also, I mean, it happens in our lives as well, and in everyone's life, right? That
going through changes.
Yes, get a new job, get a new partner, get a new car. Something happens that makes up. Get a new life.
Or a life.
Just a life, yeah, okay. So it's one of those situations of transition. And for some reason, we're an old man in a chapel with a department store uniform with a bloody name tag that says Melvin.
We might just discover that reason.
Let's hope so. I really hope so.
Can I just acknowledge before we go on? Tatsevitra, Jeden, first of all, the chapel, yes. And audio's okay on crappy iPad speakers. Well, what more can we hope for in this day and age? Unavoidable doom. Finally, a positive message on your stream. Well, we hope to deliver the most positive messages of doom that we can. And will there be more singing? We'll see. If we're inspired, then yes.
Yes, then maybe. We may have Anders perform The Wind at some point.
Exactly. Okay, so sorry. Yeah, that was a little departure.
So there are a few things that we have to find out about ourselves before we get going, and before we venture into the town and see what the heck is going on out there. And that is that we do have some skills, or at least some characteristics.
Yeah.
And we can choose them from among several, or we can just roll on tables as we prefer. This is very much a game of rolling on tables and seeing what happens.
So we are going to be rolling on table throughout the game.
Yeah. So, but now is our one chance maybe to take a little bit of control over our character.
Let's do that, please.
So
we all know that I'm a huge fan of rolling on tables. That's been my go-to source of enjoyment for many years.
On this stream,
will there be table rolling? Yes, sign me up.
So, well, let's just be frank about it, right? And show the tables.
Okay. No one. We're not hiding anything on the Hopeless stream. Everything is out in the open. No secrets, unless it's esoteric.
We can't reveal
secrets.
That. We can't reveal that. I don't know if you guys can read it. I hope you can. If not, we're gonna say what it says anyway.
Okay. Don't worry.
So we have to choose 2 initial skills. And they can have to do with, we can be agile. I don't think we're agile.
We don't look very agile. I can also just show you the character that we chose for this playthrough. It's this elderly man.
Yes, we have a walking cane.
That's how I would describe him. An elderly man. He has a walking cane. He's carrying a little book. And he has... looks like he has a pretty massive beard, or it could be a color of his jacket. I don't know.
I'm going to write down that we have a walking cane.
Yeah, and a small book. What book is that?
Do we have a book?
It looks like it.
I'm sure there is a table for books.
Of course.
I'm sure of it.
I'm sure it could be some. It's a square thing.
There is a random book table.
Let's go.
We have a book.
We have a book.
So that means I have to go to the book of tables.
The table of books, or the book of
the book of tables, or
the look-up table for books
for something. Let's see here. So. And already now, of course, we are completely changing the nature of the game. You're not supposed to have books when the game begins.
I think it's going to be okay.
But we have a book, so we're going to have a book.
Yeah.
And the way that works is that, as everything else, we roll 6-sided dice. And if you want to have the favor and roll 2 6-sided dice.
And can I remove this again?
Yeah, we've seen it.
We've seen it. We've seen enough.
We've seen enough.
9.
That's a 9. So we have an occult guide. Ooh. That already says something about us. We're an old man with an occult guide.
That's a pretty intriguing beginning.
Yeah, let's see. So by reading this book, we learn basic information on a variety of rituals and spells.
Nice.
So it basically means that if we're confronted with or we find information relating to rituals and spells, we have some foreknowledge. So I'm going to write down that we have read a book, which is an occult guide.
I think that's reasonable. That's reasonable.
So yeah, so again...
In our advanced age, we've come across an occult book or two.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
So maybe also already here, that could explain perhaps at least why we're perhaps in the old chapel, considering that changes are going on in the world.
Would you consider the Bible an old occult book?
Yeah, definitely, you know. I think too few people read it like that, but I would definitely say that it's an occult guide.
Most people read it as read it wrongly. What do you say?
They read it as a sort of a self-help guide for living.
Yeah.
But I would definitely venture that the Bible is an occult guide. But
when are we playing Bible the RPG?
I'm sure we can find it. I mean, I remember that when role-playing games were super controversial in the 80s and 90s, especially the 80s, I guess, during the Satanic Panic, there were some attempts at making sort of educational Christian role-playing games. Wow. Where instead of gaining experience points from killing monsters, you would get experience points from like helping old ladies across the street and, you know,
that's what I'm saying. Let's avoid those meaningless encounters and bring in like the true story elements. Okay, they got it right.
Yeah, we should perhaps try some Christian 1980s RPGs.
Genius.
So no, but what I was thinking is that we're in the old chapel. Perhaps we have noticed some kind of change in the world around us, in the fabric of reality has changed. And we have sought out the old chapel. Perhaps that is where we have picked up this book. Perhaps we just took it. It was lying there. It was sitting on the lectern. This old book. And we're going through it. And a lot of the stuff that we read in it sort of rings a bell. We kind of know about this stuff. We have a history. We have a past here in this town. So that's great. We have an occult book.
Nice.
That's not a skill, though.
Do we have skills?
Let's see if we have any skills that make sense here. I'm just going to mention the ones that could possibly make sense.
Okay.
We could have charisma.
Sure.
We could be good at sensing danger.
Sure.
We could have faith or will.
Faith and will.
Or you have to choose.
Yeah, okay, because it's not the same thing, right?
Yeah. I guess it takes some willpower to go to a chapel in the middle of the night and pick up an occult book.
What is this guy? What us? What have we been doing?
I think we know stuff.
Did we go there to mourn someone who passed on?
Okay. That's an interesting proposition, I think. So that means that will is not necessarily what it is. Charisma is possible. Sense of danger, maybe. Then we can be an investigator or a medic or an occultist.
But we have the occult book.
So occultists seem...
It's pretty close to something.
Shouldn't we say that we're an occultist?
Yeah, let's do that. We're an occultist.
I'll put down that as a skill.
Occult skills.
I'm just going to write it here. And in a moment, I'm also going to find out what it means to be an occultist in this world.
Yeah.
Then, okay, we can also go completely Van Helsing on this and be a vampire hunter.
Who said anything about vampires?
I think that's going too far.
That's going way too far. We don't know anything about vampires.
We can be resilient.
Okay, yeah.
Tough old guy.
Yeah.
We can also be resistant to hunger.
Sure, yeah.
We can have a strong grip on reality.
Oh, not so fun though.
I'm not sure that we have a strong grip on reality going through all those occult books.
All the occult books we're reading. I don't know. Melvin, furniture salesman / occultist.
Yes, that's probably us.
It, yeah.
Yeah, then we can be tough or strong or something.
Yeah, we'd probably not.
No.
I think an occultist, and then what did we have?
We have charisma, we have sense of danger, resilient, or yeah, but a lot of the other resistant to hunger and strong grip on reality.
Actually, you know what? Not enough playthroughs are done with high charisma.
That's true, and charisma is often better for storytelling than fighting skills, right?
Yeah. So let's have high charisma.
Yeah,
a charming old man.
That's of course why, as Tatsevich says, the furniture salesman.
Yeah.
Of course, we, of course we have high charisma.
Of course,
we charm the customers.
We wouldn't have been a successful furniture salesman.
We're actually incapable of selling anything because we can't convince people to buy anything, but we're so charismatic and we tell about, when we talk about the furniture in the store, we talk about it with such loving and care and intimacy that people immediately feel like they have to buy something from us.
Of course. All furniture salesmen are occultists, of course. Mystery revealed here. Or
a charismatic. So we're a charismatic occult furniture salesman called Melvin.
Yeah.
Who is wandering around an old chapel in the middle of the night.
He has found himself there in the middle of the night. He doesn't remember how he got there. Mm-hmm. He's still wearing his work uniform.
Yeah. And
he's brought his occult book of magic with him.
Yeah, you don't think he found it in the chapel. You thought he has it with him.
Maybe either he is performing a ritual that can only be performed in a chapel.
Yeah, I like that better because I think it's his book.
Yes, but it could also be that he is there to sort of celebrate or commemorate a loved one.
Yeah,
that maybe has been part of the cult in the past.
Perhaps the way that he commemorates loved ones is by performing rituals to get in touch with them, or
maybe he has been having a seance.
Yes.
Okay, so he's a psychic. He can speak with. But is it called something if you can speak with the dead? Is that a term for that? Not a ventriloquist, but
no, ventriloquists are very good, I think, at seances.
Imagine if ventriloquism was speaking with the dead.
Yeah, there you go.
It could be quite spooky.
But he's definitely some kind of spiritualist, I think. That he attends seances in town. Perhaps there are these seance groups in towns, and he attends them quite regularly. He's a known face in seance groups. Perhaps because he lost his wife early, and he's been in touch with her ever since.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see that. And I also see that, so he's able to make connections between the present and the past, which is also one of the tricks he uses, though he wouldn't call the trick himself, when he sells furniture, right?
That's why he sells antique furniture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he will tell stories about the homes the furniture came from, and why, the people who lived with them, and sort of the atmosphere they carry with them.
Yeah. And he can explain away the smoke smell from the couch.
Right. And of course, he's also, I think, someone who's he's caught in, he's caught in the treadmill somehow.
Yeah.
Because this was not meant to be. but he just ended up being this furniture salesman. He just goes there and he kind of lives out his dreams and his connections to spirits and to the past and to the past of other people. When people come with antique furniture that they want him to sell, he always asks them a million questions.
But he can also just touch the table and then he just knows, oh, okay, you don't have to say anything more. I know exactly.
There's a term for that.
Yeah. What?
Psychometry. Psychometry is the ability to touch an old item, and then you can immediately connect to other people who touched that item or to things that the item witnessed.
He's a psychometrist.
He's a psychometrist. I'm going to write that down. He's definitely a psychometrist.
Guys, you're witnessing here the extreme deep dive into Melvin's character.
Oh, yeah.
He's unfolding before our very eyes.
And
we're unraveling the mystery of Melvin.
And we've only just started.
The Melvic mystery.
The Melvic Mysteries. Yeah.
Melvic Mysteries.
It's the name of our chapter here.
I think the Melvins, the band The Melvins, should do an album called Melvic Mysteries.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe.
Well, they, I think the last album was a cover album. I'm diverging, of course, now. But I just want to say, before we continue down this, what do you say, optometrist?
Psychometric. Psychometrist, I think I said.
Psychometrist. That's an amazing revelation that we've come across here.
Yeah. I'm starting to feel that it is our jacket and that we are Melvin.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. I was a little unsure before, but it was also because it was only a bit later that I noticed that we were kind of aging. It's because I thought maybe we were some young department store dude, but we're not. We're the old geezer.
We're the old geezer.
Yeah.
And is it our furniture store? Maybe we don't know. Is it our furniture store? Do we have our?
Perhaps we have our own little antiquarian furniture store.
It makes so much sense that it's an antiquarian.
Yeah.
You see that he's like. Maybe you're just a confused old guy with a nosebleed. Could also be. No, but I think we're an antiques salesman, dealing mostly in furniture.
Yeah.
But of course, we have a name tag. We have a little overall. What is it called? Like a full.
Oh yeah, a little frock kind of thing.
Yeah, because we're used to moving things around and everything, so it's a little uniform thing.
And I think it also makes sense that then a lot of old, antique, weird stuff come through our store, and sometimes also occult stuff.
Definitely.
Like old, weird ebony statues of carved creatures that no one really knows what is, and books like this occult guide, which is, I mean, I think guide, it sounds a little bit misleading to be an occult guide. I think it's an old tome that contains information about rituals and spells and so on. And
it has an aura of past lived life, so it has a little bit of a magic aura.
Perhaps he's also the guy who goes to, homes of deceased people and collect items.
Yeah, sure.
And he takes sort of whatever's of interest to him.
Yeah.
And people always, they raise their eyebrows at him because he doesn't take the stuff that's worth a lot of money.
No.
He takes the stuff that interests him, that he feels has a good story, that he touches, and then he touches, and suddenly, like, this vision flashed across his eyes of, like, I don't know, someone hanging from the chandelier or a burning house or something, and he just knows here's an item, an object with a story. Yeah.
The psychometry.
So we do also have some objects.
I just want Yevon says she loved the endless possibilities of personalities for Melvin.
Yeah.
But I think we are slowly narrowing it down.
Yeah.
Slowly.
But again, we're also only slowly recovering our memory of who we are.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that's left untold. And just like someone suggested the furniture salesman, please feel free to suggest anything. Yeah. And if we feel that it fits the story, we'll just take it on board. Yeah. This is a collaborative effort.
Yeah. Just as we don't really know this game very well or at all.
Oh, at all.
So we're mostly at all. So we are just on a journey here. Let's see where it takes us. Yeah.
But what I know is that we do have some objects with us beyond the book.
Okay.
So it seems that we have a cane, but it seems that we prepared to go out. I mean, we took some objects of some significance, which is a tall order, because right now we're going to roll a random object. So let's see what that is.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask you to roll.
Yeah.
And the way this is going to work is that you roll these two dice.
Oh, these two.
And the black is the tens, and the gray is the units.
Okay, so yeah, okay, I see. I think I see what you
Okay.
mean. So 41.
Exactly.
Okay, here we go.
41. So let's see. We have a flute.
Wow.
And it says that the flute may be used to play music, obviously, and perform certain rituals.
Okay.
So there may be a reason that we're carrying around a flute.
So our whole psychic repertoire has been expanded.
Yes. But I mean, flute music, I guess that's... perhaps that's also what we're hearing in the wind. That there is this sense of kind of a flutish music floating on the wind.
But it's like old, the oldest instrument, apart from the drum, maybe. Is that a flute? What is the oldest instrument?
Ask Tatsevitra.
Tatsevitra, please chime in on this one.
It's probably a drum or something you beat on with a stick, right? A
It's
stone that you beat on with a
skulls
stick.
of your enemies.
The skull of your enemies, probably, yeah. That's probably the oldest instrument. But yeah, we do, I mean, there are those rumors about the Mad Piper at the gates of dawn, right?
Ooh, yeah.
Pink Floyd made an album about that. But I think they also read Lovecraft.
Yeah.
So we do have that. Then we also have what is called a useful item. As if the flute
the
wasn't
flute is
useful.
not useful. Wow, okay.
So you have to do another of those D66 rolls
Yeah.
to see what useful stuff we have.
52.
52.
Okay, Tatsevitra has ancient news for us.
Okay, cool.
Probably some percussion thing, but bone flutes are very old. Wow.
Should we say this is a bone flute?
Yes, of course, it's a bone flute.
Okay, I'm just going to add that.
Thank you for that.
And then we took some drinks with us.
Of course.
And this is unspecified, but I see that he has a little flask with a strong drink in it, right?
Yeah.
A pick-me-up
Sure.
of sorts.
Yeah, I think an old antique salesman would have that.
Right. We probably also have cigars, but we can't remember if we brought them. But let's see. So this leads into a different thing. At times we have to eat as we travel around. We have to reinvigorate ourselves. So right now we're lucky enough to have 1 die 6, like 1 to 6 sort of food items, or what you call. Okay. So it means that we can take a swig of our little flask X number of times to pick us up along the road. 3
times.
Great.
Okay.
So we can take 3 drinks, and every time we have visited 5 locations, we need to have a drink.
Okay.
I think at our pace that may be, we may not need to take that many drinks, so perhaps we're gonna. But maybe
it's nice to know that we can visit at that pace. We can visit 15 locations theoretically.
I don't think we have to worry about nourishment.
No.
Unless somebody steals our flask.
No. And what is the timeline here? What can we expect? Is it one night or is it?
It's a pretty big city, and every time we move from one area, like the old chapel, to another area, it's about I'm gonna change it. I know what it is, but let's say that every time we go somewhere else, because we're kind of old, it's like about a half-hour walk.
No, sure, yeah, seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna say that, which means that if 5 locations, so that's every 2.5 hours, I think he needs one more often than that.
If it was me, I'm not that old. Come on, guys, I'm not that old.
But you already need to take a swig at the bottom more than every 2.5 hours.
Just to go out of the door in the morning.
To sustain you. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
So if we forget, guys, please remind us to drink from our flask of invigorating spirits.
Yeah.
So, great. A flute and a flask.
Wow.
Let's see. We also have some kind of weapon on us. And now, there is a random table for that.
But we do have a cane.
We do have a cane. But I really don't want to roll something silly. So I think we should have something like an old antique pistol or something.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
Because we don't want
a dagger, or an old ritualistic dagger.
You want a dagger?
Or it could be a sword inside the cane. So when you unsheath the cane, you see.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm up for it. Let's do.
That's something that an antique salesman would have found in
Great.
his journeys during,
I'll just write here like I don't know how to write this. A cane blade or something.
cane blade. That sounds cool.
Sounds cool. Cool. And I will also say here, just to honor the design of the game, that it actually says that when you find things that you can use as weapons in the game, if there is no description of it, you just have to find some kind of weapon that is described that maps it the closest.
Okay.
So I think we're going to map this to a sword.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to see what a sword does. I'm also, I think, going to see what our skills do, because so we know. So let's say we have something called a sword. It means that, when we're in combat, we get a +1 to our attack rolls, basically.
Okay.
So it means that it's better than fighting with our fist, which is probably horrible at our age.
Sure.
We'll probably get a minus if we do that at our age, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think we have to do that. So then we have these skills, and I'm just going to check here mechanically what they map to. So we decided that we were an occultist and we were charismatic. So because we're charismatic, it's very simple. We have +1 to charisma rolls.
Cool.
And apparently you can also become extra charismatic in the game if we gain experience. If we, I don't know, charm, some old lady that's especially difficult to charm.
That's another funny thing about the whole RPG system. We're like a 68-year-old man, but we still start at level 1 or in the system. So what do you determine as level 1 in an RPG?
Yeah, that's true. It's like we still quite haven't got the knack of it. I mean, you can be an expert charmer, and I would say, because there is actually a choice, because again, as you see here, we have 8 hearts, which is our life energy, and we also have 8 sanity. And if our life energy drops to 0, well, then we die. We bleed out. Something bad happened to us physically.
Yeah.
Our sanity points, when we lose them, we get more and more insane and deranged, and which means that those horrors around us, they become more and more present in our mind until we lose control of ourselves. And we are actually allowed to add to these pools, or you can use, instead of adding to them, you can add to a skill. Okay. So we could say that we were an expert in the charisma skill, because as you rightly point out, we're kind of an older guy. We should have learned the ropes by now.
Yeah, come on.
So let's make us an expert. That means we have +2 to charisma rolls. We're setting ourselves up for some serious charm here.
Yeah, and we're great salesmen.
We're great salesmen. I love that. So then let's look at the occultist thing. Well, the occultist thing means that we have +1 to magic rolls. And again, I have no idea what magic rolls is, but I'm sure that we may find out.
Yeah.
And again, that can be upgraded to +2 if we're an expert, but I don't think we're an expert magician. I think we go to seances.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's also because we have not interacted with this world in this way before.
No.
So we might have peered, scryed into the spirit world, but we have not because this seems to be a whole new situation.
Yeah.
We have awoken to a new world order.
Right.
And we haven't tried that before.
Right.
So we have to admit that we're not experts on this new world.
No, and perhaps we're also a little bit gullible. Because, what happens when you lose your wife and you desperately want to get in touch with her is that you're kind of more, likely to believe that you are in contact with her.
I like that. We've gone along so the back of the cereal box kind of magic.
Yes.
Because we're so desperate. We've just taken anything we can find. We've gone to all the spiritualists in town.
Right.
The crystal. Have crystal healing, and we've done tarot cards. We've done all the things.
And perhaps the shock of where we are right now is that now where there is this shift in the fabric of reality, suddenly some of all those things that we believed in are being proven to us that they are real.
Yeah.
these things do exist. We can almost like hear the ghosts howling in the streets outside. Wow.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Getting closer to Melvin.
Getting closer to Melvin. I mean, and I think this is pretty much what we have to set up at this point.
Oh, we're done with the character creation.
Yeah, I think we're there.
Okay.
So we rolled and we also chose a little bit, but I think that's fine. And let me just see here. Sorry. Tables. This was the wrong book of tables. I have another book of tables. Here is the correct book of tables. So what we're going to do now, we're in the chapel. We have our book. We have our flute because we're prepared for ritual. And tonight, because the sheath of reality is tearing, tonight is going to be the night where we're reunited with our wife, with our old wife.
Yes, that's
our goal here.
Yeah.
So within the confines of this
tome,
we will try to see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, for sure. Looking for love in all the wrong places.
You said it. So let's step out of the old chapel. Is the old chapel, is that where you think she was buried? Did we go to visit her coffin there?
That's what I've been alluding to this whole time. That I think she was buried there. So he's come to reconnect.
Right.
And then he wakes up in this spell of memory loss, and it seems like the world has changed.
Do you think that he actually performed some kind of ritual or seance there that is part of the reason why the world is changing?
Wow. It could actually be his own fault. He triggered something.
Well, and we don't know that the world is changing for anybody else than him, right?
No.
People could be going about their daily business right outside the old chapel.
Yeah. Is this dream or reality? We don't know.
We have no idea. But whatever she has whispered to him, he's not quite clear what to do, but he has this feeling that she's out there somewhere, and tonight of all nights, he'll be able to meet her.
Yeah. He's searching.
Yeah.
Spiritual quest.
And he hopes that she hasn't grown as old as he has in the decades that gone by.
Or is she frozen in time?
Well, let's see. So now we're going to travel.
Yeah.
And the way we travel is that we take a new Post-it note.
Yeah. Jeden says maybe he found this book and tried out something new, and now he's here. It's full of rituals, and this ritual that he performed last night was the one that sort of broke the fabric of reality.
Of course, this was one of the objects that came through his store.
Yeah.
And when he saw it, he immediately thought, oh, there's something here.
Yeah.
There is a spell for, reconnecting with all lost ones. And he tried it out. And this is what happened.
Yeah.
He tore the fabric of reality.
Yeah. Now he's trapped in the spirit realm. And we'll see how that goes.
And all spirits are not necessarily friendly. I can already say as much.
That's the problem with spirits.
So, as we move along, we have to make a roll 2d6.
He's closer to his wife now. Maybe.
I think he's closer to his wife.
I hope so.
I think he's venturing out with that certainty, and he may even have been in touch with her. And perhaps he's looking for some place special in town, like the place where they met, or where they were married, or where they had their first date, or their first kiss, or...
I like the idea that when performing this ritual, he came as far as he got a glimpse of her. He heard her voice suddenly, like a crack, oh, Melvin, and then a huge cosmic explosion of green light and stars, and then the connection was broken.
And suddenly all the traffic outside, all the traffic noises subsided, and there was just this eerie silence and this howling wind with this faint trace of bone flute music somewhere. Exactly.
And Melvin is like, what was that? I was there. For a split second, I heard her voice.
Right.
I could almost reach out and touch her.
Yeah.
And then he lost connection. But he had opened up a vista of unknown horrors.
So he opens the doors of the old chapel and he looks out at a city that is transformed. So the street that leads up to the chapel, as he looks down it's like it continues forever. He kind of remembers that there are houses and buildings and, in the horizon, it took a turn and there were the traffic lights were there, but everything is different. Like his perspective is kind of endless. He just sees this road just continuing into the horizon. This house and all that. And he just starts walking. And there is this weird sense of, I don't know, of moving, but not getting anywhere, but still things flash by. And as he turns around, the chapel is nowhere in sight. And he felt like he just, walked for a couple of minutes, but he's somewhere else. So something is shifting. So if you roll 2d6 and see what kind of place he ends up in. 7. So it tells you to roll another d6.
3.
So it's a house of sorts.
Okay.
Let's see what kind of house it is.
Just walking through the mist in a way.
Yeah, walking through the mist of time, and things are disappearing behind him. New things are shooting up, and I think it's like being in. I think it's like remembering. He is walking, and suddenly he turns, and there's something he recognizes. I think that every location that we're gonna find in this game is gonna be something that he has a personal connection to.
Yeah.
So everything is part of his past, basically.
And that's the thing about Melvin. He is the embodiment of living in the past.
Yeah.
His whole world is the past.
Yeah, that's it. That's true. He connects with the past in that special way. And now he is apparently in this kind of limbo state where he's able to access the past. And the places that he visits will, of course, be places that is of importance to him, but also of his relationship to his wife. And we still don't know what happened to her.
And they could be out of time, out of space. They could be his childhood home.
Yeah.
They could be anything that he has in his memory.
Not necessarily this city. I mean, this is...
Yeah. He's opened up. The limits are completely broken down. He can visit anywhere.
He is walking around the corridors of his own memory palace.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool. So the house table, that seems to be a D6 you have to roll.
Yeah, classic
so
house table.
Turns around. And okay. Well, there are helpful people here. People are coming out to greet him, and they're coming out to offering food to him. Okay. So what kind of house is that? Is that... where people come to offer him food? It's almost as if they come to offer him food, like they recognize him. But do they recognize him because he had a period where he was distraught, wandering the street, living sort of in houses for the homeless or something? And
yeah. Could it be family where he's come to visit and they offer him food?
It could also be family. So is it? But if you come to family and you're offered food, it's not his. He's not in a childhood place. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's. Perhaps why do they offer him food? Is it because is this a day of celebration? Is it a special day?
Yeah, maybe it could be a funeral.
Could be a funeral. Is it his wife's funeral?
Yeah, I think so.
So it is his in-laws?
Yeah.
His in-laws' house?
Mm-hmm. And they're having a wake.
They're having a wake? So, and what do they live? I mean, he loves the past. He's also romantic at heart, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he would have fallen for a woman who came from good family. They probably had old money. They probably lived in one of those big houses. So I think this could be like a Gothic manor house or something.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, could totally be. Yeah.
I'm going to write Gothic manor house.
Gothic manor. That's nice. That's a cool thing.
Gothic manor.
Gothic manor. At a wake at a Gothic manor. That's cool.
So yeah, I mean we can add stuff. Like perhaps I can add wake.
Jeden says maybe the previous owners of objects he has bought and seen in visions. Yeah, that he could also visit, that he could be inspired by, or his memories can
be triggered by objects.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
He is a psychometrist. Psychometrist.
It's a new word in the vocabulary.
I'm just gonna write it down. Psychometrist.
Yeah. I'm looking over your shoulder here. No. MEETRIST. Yes. Psychometrist. Yeah, that's who he is.
Badass
so you can Google that and maybe you can tell us more.
That's a badass word.
So we're at the Gothic Manor at the wake and we're being offered food.
Yeah.
Oh, we had 3 of those drinks. So that basically means that we get some more food, and I'm gonna separate it because I want to remember that this here is our flask of liquor.
You could also assume that you get a little bit of liquor at the wake.
That is the food. That is like funeral beer or whatever you call it.
It's like what you say in Danish, but I don't know
what it's called in
I think so.
The language we're working in here. Okay, it's definitely not canned food.
No, it's not canned food.
No. He's a classy guy. Okay, so here's a top up for the bottle. Now, if we had suffered any wounds, we would also be nursed back to health a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
But that's basically what happens here. So I guess we sit in on the wake and we listen to everybody talk about, what a good woman she was and, all the life she had in front of her and,
her untimely demise.
In the midst of life, we are in death.
Wow.
Yeah. As they tend to say at funerals. So they talk about how she was taken too soon.
Yes.
And I'm already now starting to wonder, how did she die? I mean, was she taken by some other force? She didn't just like fall down the stairs and die, right?
No.
Could there be that sense that she was like she was somehow fated to die? She was like wedded to some kind of spirit, or
I'm trying to find a connection with.
Was Melvin always interested in the spiritual stuff, or was that something that happened after his wife died? Perhaps he was just a normal. Perhaps he was working in a furniture store.
I'm just trying to find about like the symbolic, poetic connection between Melvin's obsession with old things, old furnitures, and the death of his wife.
Well, then she would have to die of some like wasting disease or something, consumption.
Or was it an old tree that should have been chopped down a long time ago? It finally cracked during a storm and fell on top of her, and something that's like his whole life is also her death somehow.
Right, but perhaps if he's a real romantic and she was also a real romantic character, she would be, he was attracted to her paleness.
Yes, I think so. And her paleness stemmed from
the consumption that she was suffering from a child. I think we may be we're also going back in time a little bit here.
Yeah.
So we may be at a point in time where this was something that happened. You caught tuberculosis and you died.
Yeah.
And there was even a period in history where it was fashionable to have tuberculosis because of the paleness. So there was this connection between sickliness and beauty.
So maybe this was around the turn of the century or something.
Yeah, the turn of the 20th century somehow. And finally she wasted away.
Very sad.
It's very sad, but it also, it also ties him into that whole spiritualist movement, because that would be about the time where you would start.
That's another good point. I think we are. So if Melvin is 69, 70,
right,
then this all happened 30 years ago.
Or more. I think she was young. She was 18.
So it happened 40 years ago.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, because she was probably 10 years younger than him.
Yeah. And so the date we have today is the 1940s, more or less.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly the 1940s, that happy period in world history.
Exactly, yes. Could be 1935 or something.
Okay, so during the Depression.
Struggling to find a good year for humanity.
I like it to be during the Depression, really.
Yeah, let's do that.
So there's a global recession, and he still has his store that he's in and that he's keeping on to, and all his, and he somehow survives because he goes out, and it's easy to get your hands on on items from deceased people, because there's so many people who are offering themselves in this period.
Of course,
people are jumping out windows and falling ill, cannot afford medicines.
They are so broke that they're just selling everything.
And their families are selling everything for nothing. So he basically just carts stuff away and he sells it. And he makes a tiny little bit of living off that.
Yeah.
And he thinks back on those days when he was in love and he was betrothed to be married with this woman, Eliza, and Eliza was just 18 years old when she passed away.
Wow!
When she wasted away,
so sad
in her beautiful paleness.
Yeah, pale as the winter's first snow.
Yeah. So what we can do now is that we can travel on, or we can search this house, this location, to look for clues or...
Well, there could be clues, because seeing as she was so young, she probably was still living at home.
Right.
Maybe they just started arrangements to move in together.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So he had started. He had bought all the furniture. That's the first thing Melvin thinks of, is to get all the furniture ready. No, but they've started. That's why Melvin is obsessed with furniture, because they were decorating their house.
He had selected by hand everything. The whole house was set up, and perhaps there's another location in this town which is the house they were supposed to move into.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that. That's why he's obsessed with furniture. Because she never moved in. She never breathed life into this thing they had designed together.
In his mind, he's still decorating the house.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is great. I love it.
Yeah, no, obviously. Yeah. Well, you could have told us. Have to figure it out ourselves.
Oh, that's great. So I think we should try to then search, also just to find out how that even works.
Also, maybe they have some cool furniture. So
maybe they have some cool furniture. I think maybe also we just find nothing. But I'm just curious to.
Well, in this dream, twixt reality and the unreal, we never know what we may find. It can be nothing. It can be something. It can be.
Yeah. So
fleeting.
We're actually not super good at finding stuff. We didn't really, do anything for that. But I think there is, to my mind, he's there, he's present, but he can sort of go in and out of the memory. So he can also just, leave the other people's at the wake and just move around almost like a ghost in the background of their story, looking at things.
Okay.
He's like, he's there, but he's not there. So I think because it is his deceased wife's home, we should get a +1 when he searches it.
Sure.
So I think you should roll a d6 +1, which means that on a 5 or 6 we discover something.
Yeah. He's been there before.
Yeah. So he walks the corridors and the rooms and up and down, and it seems that all the furniture has already been transferred to that other house. There's just nothing. There's nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
There's nothing really left.
Damn it.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
That's a shame. But I mean, he's happy for the drink.
Yeah, well, and the memory.
Yeah, and the memory. So, okay.
That's disappointing, but
but that's how it goes.
That goes.
So now it's time to move on.
Yeah.
To leave the wake. We now at least have one location in mind. So I think if we discover another house, that might be the one.
Could be the one. So what do we do now?
We again roll on the town encounter table, town exploration table, which is a 2d6 die roll.
Okay, yeah.
5. We find a place of worship.
Okay.
Is this a place where they hold seances, you think?
Place of worship.
Does he reconnect with his old seance group?
I mean, it could either be in the more mystic sense, or it could be.
We'll perhaps get an answer from a d6 die roll.
Oh, okay.
It's going to help us, I'll say.
okay, let's see.
So 3. So it tells us that we're gonna find some stuff here. We can talk about what kind of place it is in a minute.
Okay.
But what we're gonna find here is we're either gonna find a silver crucifix or 2 vials of holy water.
So this must be maybe more like the chapel we just left, or is it a small church? Or?
Yeah, I mean it's crucifixes and holy water. It all sounds very Christian.
Could also be like in the southern Europe, they have these little
a shrine.
Shrines.
So yeah, like where you put a shrine by the side of the road where someone died, killed by a car.
Yeah, something like that.
Could be that.
Mm-hmm. Car
but
worship.
Vials of holy water. Okay, so are we interested in holy water or crucifix, silver crucifixes?
Why is this all so vampiric, all this?
It has that sense, but I don't think that, again, because we're in this weird limbo world where the paleness of our beloved late Elisa may also have to do with other things than consumption and wasting disease.
Who knows?
So perhaps the silver crucifix isn't a bad thing.
What was the other thing?
2 vials of holy water.
I believe more in the silver crucifix.
I also feel stronger for that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, Melvin is the kind of guy who can find a silver crucifix anywhere.
He has a drawer full of them.
He has so many at home, but this got to be a special one.
But they usually don't bring them.
No.
That's the thing.
And I think also again, we have to follow the logic of his mind, which is that whatever we roll on this table, it may be a random table, but it's actually not random. It is fate who is showing things to Melvin.
Yeah.
And he has to navigate it. So what is a place of worship? It doesn't have to be literally a church. It could also be like a spot in the park where they used to go and sit on a bench and hold hands and be
sure, yeah.
very much in love and almost a little bit physical. So a place of worship.
Yeah.
What might that be? Because I don't, and of course we can do the silver crucifix thing, but it could also just be.
Could it just be the graveyard?
It could. Yeah, I was thinking there's something like a statue with a crucifix hung around his neck, and it's not a crucifix that's normally there. It's again, it's like a hint that Melvin immediately takes, like some higher power placed that crucifix there because he needs it somehow. He doesn't know what he needs it for, but perhaps the universe is trying to tell him something about his wife. That, she was pretty and she was pale, but maybe it's good that he didn't get so close to her. I don't know.
It could also, could be a statue where the crucifix is sort of is conjured on in his dream state or in his memory state. It becomes physical.
Yeah.
So crucifix hanging around the neck of a statue come to life.
Is this like a big gargoyle statue in the park, which was the place where they always arranged to meet before it became official that they were seeing each other.
Yeah.
This was they just knew when they said, we'll meet by the place. They both knew.
And then they would walk around the little lake and feed the ducks and stuff.
Yeah. So, and what is the statue? It's like some winged...
It's an angel.
An angel. Fallen angel?
Fallen angel statue.
Statue of fallen angel.
Yeah. Naturally.
What else could it be? Statue of fallen angel. And then we know that this is a place of assignation. I'll just say, assignation with wife. So, and an assignation is kind of a place where you meet in secret.
Hidden under a big weeping willow.
Yes.
Of course. Obviously, Eden.
Oh, was that a chat? Okay, yeah. Great. Yeah, the statue is on the big weeping willow. I love that. So now I have to look at the screen to see where he actually goes. He can still go this direction, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have room for one weeping willow and one statue.
Oh, that's right. Here he is. Beautiful. So, and then we find a silver crucifix. I'm going to add that to our items.
And I like that the silver crucifix is something that has always been hanging around the neck of the angel, but only in his dream world or in this dream state. Is it actually something that he can reach out and grasp?
It's actually part of the statue normally. It's carved in stone as part of it. But now he can reach out and take it off its neck. And that means something.
Means something. What will mean something?
It definitely means
something. But
he
was compelled to take it with him.
Yeah.
Do we have to drink from the flask?
Oh, because we've been walking for...
But it's 5. Isn't it 5?
I think we say every 3.
Yeah.
Because... I think we sit down under the weeping willow. We lean against. We sit down with our sort of old hurting legs, old hurting back. We lean against this slightly sort of moist and moldy statue, and we sit with the crucifix in our hands, and we take out the flask and we unscrew the cork, and we take a swig of the bottle, and we feel invigorated. And we feel like there might be a sense of purpose to this, what we are experiencing right now. I think so. I think that I'm still not sure what it means. We know that we met with Elisa at this place, and perhaps the statue was the thing that we always talked about when we didn't know what else to talk about because we were too shy or so. And it was the story of the fallen angel of Lucifer, who was rebelled against God and was kicked out of paradise. Just like she rebelled against her parents. Yeah, but there's also something ominous about her wanting to meet us by the statue of Lucifer. Wow. Especially in connection with us taking a silver crucifix off the neck of that statue. So she knew something that we never learned. We never got that far. We're gullible. Yeah. We are gullible. Mm-hmm. We go to seances to try to reconnect with her. She had a secret. And we never understood what it was. No. But there seems to be some kind of ominous connection. Mm-hmm. And again, in my mind, there is this feeling that she was somehow fated. That, and this old family she came from, what about them? The thing is, Elisa may have been dying for more than 18 years. She may have been dying for hundreds of years. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Elisa may be a very old soul in a very young body, in a family who welcome in this young, completely awed Melvin, who just loves everything that's old and has history, and he's completely taken in by this family, and he falls in love with Elisa, but the love that they share may not be the same kind of love. He's discovering things about Elisa right now, and it might not be easy to understand. Should we take a close look at that statue and see if we can learn something? Yeah, let's do that. So a d6 plus 1. I'm wondering when our charisma will come into play. A 3, once again, not... When it becomes a 4, when he
No.
He looks at the statue and he still can't figure it out.
I think it's too old for him. He is more used. His expertise in antiques goes back 50, 70 years.
Look, I think he's resisting. I think secretly he knows everything already. Everything there is to know, he knows. But this has been suppressed. He is not accepting the truth of this story because he loved that young woman. And he didn't only love her, perhaps that was the problem, that what he loved most of all was her family, her inheritance, her history, her sense of belonging in this place for generations.
And her great knowledge of history.
Yeah, her immaculate ability to recall, almost as if she'd been there in person, events of the past.
Mind-boggling how she was able to do that. But I think it's extremely common that you are curious about. For instance, he's been curious about the supernatural. He's been searching for answers, but he's not actually been taking it in. He's not actually been taking all the things that he finds at face value because he doesn't really actually want to know the truth.
Right.
So he's kind of playing a game with his own mind, where he's sort of dancing around the actual truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And part of what's happening is his realization of it. And perhaps this leads back to what he was doing in the old chapel. That he discovered this book. He came across this book here during the Depression in the 1930s from some, I don't know, Aleister Crowley-like type who died, and he got all his possessions that were left behind. And he found this book, and he was reading it, and he was becoming enthused with it. And there was this description of a ritual that you could do to commune with the dead, but you had to do it at the place where their bones rested, which is why he went to the chapel.
Yeah.
And he performed the ritual. And the thing is that to him, it was all about meeting her and talking to her. I don't think they were ever physical.
No.
It was for him. I think it was almost a platonic love. I think he didn't even think that far.
No. I think that his expression of love was to build this home.
Right. Absolutely. And it was stock full of old furniture that he.
It was a bit of a smelly home. Smelled like old people.
Absolutely. But the thing is that this ritual opens up not just a communication with her, but it actually opens up a window to. Okay, what is happening? Is it because that he's trying to access her and now she is trying to tell him something? Because she's kind of at a point where she's taking pity on him?
No, but also she has been traversing the spirit realms for many hundreds of years.
Does she want to use him as a portal to get back into the world?
Ooh, that's
nasty.
That's kind of nasty. Could be. Or maybe she has something that she needs a vessel to communicate with the physical world, and he is the closest person that she has.
Look, if you've been living for hundreds of years, I think at one point it becomes impossible you to form meaningful bonds with mortal people, right?
You're so way beyond.
You just cannot feel attachment to other people.
No.
So I think that she may very well see him merely as a pawn in her own game.
I don't think merely, but he is definitely a pawn.
Right.
I think she likes him.
Sure.
And he's a useful tool, and he might also be a nice companion for 70 years.
I'm so glad that you just pulled me back from the brink of cynicism.
Let's not go that far. I think if you live for hundreds of years, every relationship becomes a little bit of a. There is a duality to it. It might be nice to have company for 70 years, but then it's how much it's going to hurt.
It ends.
Yeah. It's going to end.
Yeah, and it becomes more and more difficult to attach yourself to other people.
Yeah. So I think she enjoyed his company, and he was a useful person to have in her life.
Right.
And she had maybe a plan for him, but when she died, her plan changed, and now she has a new use for him.
Yeah.
And which is my.
And I'm also, and I don't think we can answer this question right now, but I'm also curious to know why she died.
Yeah. Why did she die?
What happened?
I also think that the chapel is more of a crypt.
Okay.
The old chapel is more of a crypt.
They're old stone coffins down there.
Yeah, and that's where her family has been buried for generations.
Yeah, I agree. It's the family crypt.
Yeah.
But perhaps that's the thing that, you know, in town it is just known as the old chapel. Like there's some old graves there. It's almost like a tourist attraction.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
People will go there. But the reality is that all the people who are buried there is basically from this same family that has existed in this town longer even than the town itself.
It's always been there.
It's always been there. We're back here, and
Lemmy Badax, what did you miss? Oh my God, what did you miss? How can I even begin to explain?
It's there's a bit of a recap here, but basically we're an old guy called Melvin who is searching for his long lost love Elisa, who turns out to may not have been exactly what you thought she were.
Yes.
And here in the break, we were just thinking a little bit about Elisa, and what came to mind was a short story by Edgar Allan Poe called Ligeia.
And I pulled it up here on the good old laptop here, and I think Jakob will just let you in on a little bit of what this story entails.
Yeah, I'm just going to read the first 2 or 3 sentences from Edgar Allan Poe's short story Ligeia, and I think it fits pretty well to the story that we're telling right now. So, it begins. I cannot for my soul remember how, when, or even precisely where I first became acquainted with the Lady Ligeia. Long years have since elapsed, and my memory is feeble through much suffering. Or perhaps I cannot now bring these points to mind, because in truth, the character of my beloved, her rare learning, her singular yet placid cast of beauty, and the thrilling and enthralling eloquence of her low musical language made their way into my heart by paces so steadily and stealthily progressive that they have been unnoticed and unknown. So he has fallen in love with this woman, and exactly how, when, or how it happened escapes him, because Melvin, he is somehow, you know, caught between past and present. It's difficult for him to discern between the two. And what was then to Melvin is also what is now. Because as we've already discovered, is that Melvin is actually a psychometrist. And a psychometrist, as I said before, is someone who can touch an old object and then be reconnected to the history of that object. So also what that object has experienced in its life as an object. And that is his rare ability. And so if you ask what you missed, Lemmy Badax, what so far we are to sum it up, except for this beautiful moment that we just experienced here, that you will soon understand why this is so meaningful and so poetic, is that we're playing this game as Melvin, the antique dealer. He has been peddling old furniture his whole life, and he has this insane ability of psychometry. So whenever he touches an old table, an old sofa, or an old bed, or an old chandelier or something, he instantly connects with the item, and he sees all his previous owners. He knows the whole story of the item. And so that's an insane skill to have in the spirit world, where we are now, where we find ourselves now. We are lingering in the spirit world, I think.
We're lingering in the spirit world.
And we're visiting locations that are basically belongs to the memory of Melvin. He's walking around in a palace of his own memory.
Yeah. And the reason for this journey that he's on right now is that he has delved in mysticism for a long time, and perhaps without even knowing what he's really doing, but he has been searching for a way to connect with his long lost love, Eliza. And so one fateful night, he went to the crypt where she is buried.
Her whole family is buried.
Her whole family is buried. And he performed a ritual in that was meant to give him a way of talking to her again, to hear her voice once more. What then happened was that the whole fabric of reality crumbled, and he woke up in a daze, memory lost, memory gone, and the whole world has evaporated around him, and now only memory fragments remained, and those the only places for him to visit, the only places to travel to, are fragments of his own memory.
He basically walks down long, endless, misty lanes, and sometimes he turns left or right and he sees something from his past and he's able to interact with it. So previously, after the chapel, he was at the wake in the family mansion.
The wake of Eliza.
The wake of Eliza at the family mansion of Eliza's family. And later he went to the statue of the fallen angel Lucifer in a park where he used to meet with Eliza. And suddenly the stone necklace around this fallen angel of the statue was suddenly a physical object that he could lift off its neck. And he now has the silver crucifix, which is beginning to tell us a little bit about the ritual that Melvin performed. That it was not perhaps just a ritual of communicating with Eliza, but also a ritual of realizing for himself who is Eliza really, and how do I deal with her?
Because it seems Eliza, being only 18 years old when they met initially, it seems that she perhaps have lived a different kind of life. It seems like she's an old soul.
She's been here for centuries.
She's been here for centuries, basically. And the thing is that Melvin, in his naivety, felt that he has met this beautiful, perhaps a little bit of an old soul, but he felt that there was a beautiful young lady that he would be courting, and they were soon to be married. And his whole existence up until her death was to sort of furnish their new home where they would live together.
Right.
So he has been obsessed with making a home for Eliza and him, slowly realizing perhaps that even though she was sick with consumption, that perhaps she was not only 18 years old, she was also...
Do you think that because after Eliza died, Melvin, he opened up his own antique furniture store. Do you think that the furniture that he has been collecting for this store, in his mind, it is still... He is not accepting her death. It is still furniture that he wants to go in that perfect home that he's building for her in his mind.
He's perhaps hoping that it's not really over.
Right.
That there's still something there.
If he can build a home that is perfect enough with all the furniture he hopes that by putting that furniture in that house, he can somehow evoke the spirit of her and he can live with her just as a spiritual presence in the house. As we talked about before, this is not really a physical relationship. It's very much a platonic, romantic relationship. And he just wants to be in a home where he can feel her spirit roaming down the hallways, sitting on the couch. And that little breeze that, makes the curtains shudder a little bit. That's Eliza whispering in his ear.
Wow, yes, exactly. And so we find ourselves now at the statue of where they used to have their romantic rendezvous.
A little bit ominously a statue of Lucifer.
It's kind of ominous. And also we have kind of learned that the story of Eliza maybe not be as simple as she was a young, sick girl.
Right.
It may also be that she has lived for hundreds of years.
Right. You're welcome, Lemmy.
Well, actually, just summing up the whole premise and what we've reached to so far is actually good exercise and a good way to sort of...
to help our, challenged memories.
Yeah. So that's where we're at, actually. And also, to sum it up even further, we're playing a game called Alone Against Fear. which we are all familiar with, of course. But this time it's in a game format.
Yeah.
And
And I think that we have to travel on. We just sat down and had a moment. We took a swig of our bottle to strengthen ourselves.
Yeah.
A little draft of the good stuff. And now we travel on through our memories.
Mm-hmm.
And we're walking away from the statue through the park. And let's see where we find ourselves.
So it's a die 6.
2d6.
2d6. 41.
It's another place of worship. So there is
Okay.
a sense
There's a theme also.
There's a theme going on here. It's really all places of worship. So you have to roll a d6, and we'll get to know a little more.
Yeah. A single?
Yeah.
5.
A 5. Okay. A priest with a mission. So we meet a priest.
Yeah.
We can think about where we meet him.
Do we get any further clues, or?
Well, he has a mission for us. There's something he needs us to do. But I kind of want to get straight where we meet him, because we're walking through the park, and he doesn't just walk down the path towards us, I think.
No, but I also think that the park fades, like the memory fades.
The memory fades, yeah. And
So we can actually be anywhere.
yeah. So who is this priest? He's connected somehow to Melvin and Eliza's story. So this could, if Eliza somehow belongs to the wrong side of faith, perhaps there was this discussion. Melvin wanted to get married, of course, in the traditional way, of course, and Eliza was very much against it.
She had other plans.
She didn't want to be married in a church, because perhaps Eliza and churches don't go together that well.
I don't think so. I don't think Eliza spent that much time in churches.
But Melvin, he was there, of course, meeting with a priest.
Arranging everything.
Exactly. He was arranging there.
But that's what Melvin does. He arranges everything. He wants to set everything right. He wants to do it the right way.
Yes.
And he wants to make all the preparations.
So he went, let's see. Where he ends up now is probably that church where he had that interview with the priest.
Yeah.
So, and it's of course the fabled church of Saint Sebastian.
Okay, yeah. You know where you are? You're in church.
You know how Saint Sebastian died?
No.
He is the guy who was tied to a pole and shot with arrows.
Oh, that guy.
That guy.
The pole guy.
No, but he was a martyr, right?
Yeah.
Like I guess all saints are to some extent.
Like Lucifer.
But his death with all those arrows, it cut all these wounds in him, he bled, and it has also become a very erotic imagery because it opens all these, these fissures in your body, and you have the blood leaking out of them.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like he had suffered 100 Christ wounds in his body, and all his devotees would come to gather his blood or lick his blood. And we of course know who licks bloods of dead bodies, right?
Okay, there is a pattern here.
There is definitely a pattern here. So,
Church of Saint Sebastian.
So Melvin walks into the Church of Saint Sebastian, and he meets Father Gregory, the old priest. And what Gregory he does, he tells him that there's something he needs to do. Let's find out what he needs to do.
Let's find out.
Okay. Okay, there is this is a little bit difficult for me here because there's a wrong reference.
In the meantime, not that it helps you to talk about something else while you're looking, but anyway.
Don't play for time. Just play for time.
Prize Chris says this is quite moving. The short story and this, I was expecting gore. So was I. Where's the gore? But I've stumbled on a romantic dark novel. It's really cool, actually. Well, it is cool. I think we just go with the flow here, and we didn't know that we were going to end up at the Church of Saint Sebastian with this priest here.
And thank you for bringing me through this lapse of flipping through tables, because 74 should have been 75. He says that we have to perform a ritual to reconsecrate the Church of San Sebastian. And the thing is that in order to do that, we need the faith skill. So we need to develop faith.
Okay.
I mean, faith in the Christian God and the Christian mystery.
But wouldn't a priest just say that? Just to get,
We also need the Holy Book. We also need 3 candles.
Oh, he's giving us... Oh.
And I mean, those are not just candles that you buy in the local drugstore. Those are big old tapers, like big wax candles, right?
Well, Gregory, we've been in the spirit realm for 2 hours now. The only thing we've gotten so far is a crucifix and a swig of whiskey. So finding the Holy Book, the candles,
and learn to... I mean, I think faith we might learn to develop.
Yeah.
But
it's a tall order. That's what I'm saying.
It's a tall order. That's okay. That's a tall. I'm just gonna write down here, because then we have to return to the church. But I think perhaps what the priest is telling us, without telling us directly, is that he is actually helping us to find a way to make us realize who Eliza really is. Because I think that by inviting Eliza into the church when we were arranging for a marriage was basically a desacralization of the church.
He knew that already.
Yeah. And just the fact that we even suggested it, perhaps we even forced her to come as many steps as she could up the stairs towards the church was enough to desacralize the church. And perhaps there is some crazy scene here about, Eliza entering the church at midnight and the statue of Saint Sebastian, suddenly blood starts pouring from the wounds of the statue, and she sits there at his feet. Sits there at his feet and just licks up the blood that's running out of these wounds. And the priest sees that with horror, and the church has been closed ever since. The church has been closed for 40 years.
I love that. That's amazing.
And he says, Melvin, you got to help us desacralize it. Yeah. And perhaps that is part of the exorcism of Eliza. He doesn't say that.
No. But he invites Melvin to actually help him on this quest.
Right. Yeah, okay. but I think it'll also help Melvin, right?
Melvin needs to get closure for sure.
Yeah.
He's been living in the past literally for the last 40 years.
So basically, if we can find faith...
Yeah.
The Holy Book, and 3 tapers.
What is tapers?
It's like these candles they have in church, these big wax candles.
Oh, okay, that was fun.
If we can find that and return to this space, to this church, we can perform the ritual that, I don't know what it does. We'll find out if it happens, but we still need to find faith, the Holy Book, and 3 candles, which may not be as easy.
That's a tall order.
It's probably a tall order, at least considering, well.
Okay, fair enough.
But
also Gregory has his own agenda. That's fine. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. He wants his church back.
Yeah, I get it. That's fine. We don't have to adhere to that, I guess.
But I think slowly also Melvin is waking up to this realization that, he just wants to be in contact with Eliza. Why is the priest not telling him, you have to bring the spirit of Eliza into the church and marry her spirit? He feels, why is there all this opposition towards Eliza? So I think he may be beginning to understand that at least that the world around him views Eliza different than he does.
This is the first contact he has with the outside world inside the spirit realm.
Yeah.
So that's the first sign that something is not going his way, or is in opposition to the whole Eliza story. It's the first sort of bump on the road.
Yeah, I mean, he took the silver crucifix off the statue, and to him that was no big deal. It was almost like it was a sign from Eliza.
Yeah.
Oh, she gave me the crucifix.
Yeah. But
I'm not sure Eliza gave him that crucifix.
No, I think he's kind of wising up.
Yeah.
Slowly
Wising up.
Yeah. All right. So what do we do?
We try to, as always, try to search.
Yes.
This church.
Even though we don't, as usual,
we don't find. It seems that our memories are just empty of any content beyond that, because we're not meant to find anything. We're meant to finally understand what people are telling us.
Yeah.
Melvin, you gotta wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah.
This is.
No, we don't find anything as per usual.
So.
We move on.
I think we just move on.
Yeah.
I think you just roll through d6 and we see where we go.
43.
Oh no, it's just a 7.
7.
We've had that before. So you roll a die again. One die.
1.
It's a house, and I think we already know what that house is.
We know what that house is.
And just roll once more.
5.
Dilapidated house.
Yes.
This is it.
Makes sense.
This is it.
This is the house.
So what is this house on us?
Well, this is the house that Melvin bought 40 years ago. And his great plan was for him and Eliza to live there forever after.
Yes.
And he's been furnishing this house with old antique furniture. It's beautiful furniture. And he's been painting, and he's been preparing, and he's been making it ready for a family. Or at least for him and Eliza.
Is it fully furnished, or is he still going there from time to time and adding furniture?
There is a room that has not been furnished.
Is Eliza's room?
It's Eliza's room.
Okay.
There are furniture there, but they are wrapped. You know, like there's an old carpet over it, draped, and so as not to get dusty. And the one thing that's interesting is there is this little table with a mirror attached, where you would perhaps freshen up in the morning,
right?
Get ready for the day, and the mirror has been covered for 40 years.
Oh,
never been revealed.
Right. Interesting. But what that mirror would show, if anything.
That's anyone's guess.
Okay, interesting. So basically, he is back. He's back in the house. It's been sitting there for 40 years, partly furnished. He's still going there from time to time, adding little touches of this or that to the house.
He may be sleeping in like one of the rooms to the side next to the kitchen. Like
you think he lives there?
I think he lives there.
Okay, cool. So
But he hasn't inhabited the space. He's sleeping next to the kitchen in a bunk bed.
Right.
And he's basically just going from his bed to his job in the morning.
Right.
Grabbing a coffee on the way, and that's it.
And I guess there's a housekeeper.
Yeah.
There is an old woman who looks after the house and dusts off everything.
Yeah.
And she's still there. And this is perhaps the most real place that we've been to so far, really, because this is in Melvin's lived reality.
Yeah.
But perhaps now it's a little different. I'm thinking it's empty.
Ah, okay. No furniture.
Because this is when he bought it, and he first came to it and he looked around.
Yes, where he first got the idea that this would be perfect for him and Eliza.
And it's an old, dilapidated house. It's one of those houses you should never buy.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be endless problems.
Yeah.
The roof is leaking. The plumbing doesn't work. It's
cheap, but it's going to cost you a fortune.
Yeah, it's impossible to heat. It's all sorts of badness goes on in this house.
Prize Cruz says there may be a grand piano that plays a song, their song. He touches it often to hear her play.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the rest of the room has sheets over furniture that looks like a ghostly audience. Exactly.
Perhaps he's perhaps his way of seeing the house is slipping between those two realities. That he kind of he goes there and he sees the empty rooms, but also in glimpses he sees it as it is now.
Yeah.
And I love the idea that they have a song.
Yeah.
That they have, because also Eliza, she's just 18 years old, but she plays the piano if she's been playing it forever. You know, she's so good.
Yeah.
She's just so good. So we can explore the dilapidated house. You have to roll 4 or more on a d6, I think.
Which I probably won't do.
No. So what happens is that as we stumble through the house, we're climbing the stairs, and suddenly the railing of the stairs, it breaks, and we fall over, and we fall down. And we land on the landing below, and we've hurt our arm where we took off. So one of these beautiful little hearts, which represent our health, is
and
taken
perhaps
away.
Our love.
And perhaps our love is taken away.
Yeah.
So again, because we have this idea that this house is perfect and it's fully functional, Melvin doesn't see the reality that the wood is old and rotten, and the balustrade just falls off.
Yeah, and it's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, but he doesn't see it.
No,
he sees this is a palatial home.
He doesn't. He doesn't notice all the asbestos he's breathing, and
40 years just went by, right? It's completely worm-eaten and rotten. And we can now, as we fall down, we can still try to search the house, because now we realized that something is wrong. It's not the house that we thought it was.
Yeah, okay.
So you can roll down. You can add +1 to your search this time.
Okay.
Ooh, now we actually find something. So now we have to make a choice. Either we find a clue, or we find a random item, or a useful item.
What's the difference between a random item and a useful item?
Ask the table, don't ask me.
Okay.
But the thing is...
What do we need? What would we like to find? I don't know.
Perhaps a clue is a better thing to find.
Yeah. But a clue... Because what is it? We have a quest from the priest.
I'll add 1 clue here. Because, so I think... What is it that Melvin learns from visiting this house? I think he learns that his dream is not perfect somehow. The house is dilapidated and rotten, and suddenly he just looks and he sees that these big spots in the ceiling where water is dripping through, and there is mold growing on the walls, and it's
apparitions have begun to appear on the wallpaper in the form of moldy spots.
Yeah, which when looking at them almost look like shapes that are moving along the wallpaper.
Are they? Is it shadow? Is it mold? Is it spirits?
It gives him a sense that this house is not a house of love, but a house of death. So he's beginning to realize that Eliza not only represents love, but she also represents death. And I think both are true.
Yeah.
Because he loves her.
Yeah, of course.
But she also, in many ways, is the death of him. His life stopped when she died, didn't it? I mean, hasn't he spent the last 4 decades furnishing a house for a woman who died?
The poetry of this is that his one and only love is a woman that's perhaps lived for several centuries. Mm-hmm. And his greatest joy in the world is finding antiques. And not only finding antiques, but he's a psychometrist. What is it called? Psychometrist. So he has a deep connection, a spiritual connection with old physical things.
But I think...
And the thing is, he has never been physical with Eliza. So he has never touched her. So he has never known who she really is.
Right.
He's only been fascinated by the idea of her.
Does he get that yearning now?
Yeah.
He actually he wants to embrace Eliza.
I think he needs to embrace her to fully understand who she is.
She's beginning to become real and not just because she's always been a creature of his imagination. And I think when she died and he just kept on furnishing this house and finding furniture for it was a way for him of rejecting what had happened. It was a way of him of coping with the loss of her. And he has basically been stagnant for 40 years. Yeah. He's not evolved. He's not moved on. He's been
living in the past.
Completely.
Like
he is actually the typical guy who gets abandoned by his girlfriend and is unable to move on.
Yeah. And will he only get closure from an embrace? Yeah.
I think so. I think there's something to that.
There's something there.
I think that he needs to actually hold her because I don't think he ever embraced her.
No.
I mean, I think
it was so pure. It was so young.
It was like he may have like touched her hand with his fingertips, but it's there. It's not much further than that, right? He never gave her a hug or something. He never gave her a kiss. But that was all planned for the church and the wedding night and the home and everything. Yeah. So he's been living in the past for 40 years and he's now beginning to discover that his past is old and moldy.
It's rotting.
and he needs to wake up to some kind of different reality.
He needs to do something about this.
Yes.
He needs to find a way to embrace Eliza.
Right.
He needs to find her, manifest her physically and embrace her.
Okay, I'm now super excited to see where we go next because now I don't have any idea. Also because I think that it is the spirit world that's showing these things to Melvin. So what will the spirit world show to Melvin next?
Let's find out.
Let's really find out because this is I have no idea. Seriously.
I have no idea. We're on a journey here.
Yeah. We may have to rely on your help, guys. Let's try to find out.
We're on a journey.
It's the 2D6
I thought this was a horror game, but it's a horror of romance.
It's a sad poem.
It's a sad poem game.
Yeah, but it does have that supernatural vibe to it, right? And we may end up fighting zombies.
We'll see. Well, we're pretty far from it right now. Mm-hmm. We're fighting our own inner demons right now. Which is, of course, the most horrific thing you can.
Absolutely. No, this is a proper horror game. Look what horrible existence this poor guy has lived for 4 decades. Yeah. I mean, it's sad.
Been wasting his whole life.
Yeah. Come on, let's show. Okay. So
7.
Then you roll a d6.
1.
Okay. Let's see. I have no idea. Roll on the haunted house table. Ooh. Which house is this? Can we have just any deliberation here? We're being shown a haunted house. Yeah. So we've already been to her parents' house where she grew up. We have been to their house, but there is a third house in this story.
Is it the house where he grew up?
Is it his childhood home?
His childhood home.
Oh. Is there a wrinkle in this story?
Oh no. It could be.
Oh.
What are you thinking?
No, I mean it may be going too far, but I'm thinking that maybe he actually comes from a family of people who haunted these kind of creatures. And he was brought up really to, hammer stakes through the hearts of vampires and, drown witches and all these things.
Of course.
He grew up with that.
Witchfinder General.
And then he discovers this woman who he instinctively knows is one of them.
But that's the allure. That's the allure.
But he also wants to go against his parents because he grew up in this environment of chasing and down these people, and he was always compassionate for these poor witches who were being drowned in lakes and people.
He never understood why, what is all the fuss was about. He
was so too soft.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay, so
is that how he grew up?
I'm afraid so.
Wow, it says roll on the haunted house table.
Okay.
I need to know where
haunted house table.
I need to know where the haunted house table is. There are too many tables in this game.
DJ Haunted House.
Yes. Let's see here. Here we go. It's a 1d6.
6.
What? Okay, now this gets weird.
Okay.
But we have to follow the table, right?
Sure.
It's an amusement park.
He grew up in an amusement park, covered, like undercover as it functioned as an undercover for the witch finders.
They were part of a traveling carnival that were going around, and they were basically, hiring people for their magic shows.
Yes.
Come, all the wizards in town, come out and join the carnival circus, and that was how they sort of lured out
all the spiritual,
the creatures of the night,
all the the truth sayers that would set up booth in this traveling circus.
Melvin grew up in a carnival.
Well, it was a carnival undercover.
It was an undercover carnival.
Say that 3 times in a row.
Yeah, undercover carnival. No, I can't.
What do we have here? Prize crew. Oh, cool. He fell in love with the enemy Romeo and Juliet. He was a secret love. He could never be with her because of family feuds.
That's kind of true. Because the family basically wanted to, drive a stake through her heart, and he wanted to marry her.
What a crazy... And
that was what created the rift between him and his parents.
Yeah.
And now he's being back at the carnival, and he's just looking at all the rides going around.
I love that the carnival is a cover-up for these witch finders. The Van Helsing carnival.
The story is so complicated.
It's very complicated.
And then, interestingly, it says here, if you have a train ticket, you may pay for a ride. But I feel like that we have to have this ride.
We need to go deeper here.
No, but also because this is not just about paying for the ride, because we know the guy who controls the ride. We just go up to him because Melvin always, of course, got free rides in the circus.
No, of course, yeah. His parents owned the circus, so
that's the thing.
He could roam around the circus as he wanted.
So he goes up
Yeah.
to this circuit ride.
Yeah.
He jumps on it, and now I have to go to a completely different book.
the circus ride table.
No, now I have to go to the unique event book.
Ah, we come to the unique event, guys. So
yes,
strap in, literally.
Strap in. Let's see what happens. The amusement park ride.
Oh,
are you ready?
Here we go.
So we're led onto the ride, and a ghost lets you climb into a funfair ride leading into a cave. The symbolism.
The cave of memories.
Everything is made of plastic. Everything is fake. Everything is artificial. There are fake spider webs, the skeletons hanging from the walls, and the child brings back childhood memories. And it says here that we recover our sanity. I think we lose sanity.
We're too deep now. We can't just magically.
This doesn't help us.
No.
This is just showing us, because this is basically an exhibition that our parents use to create fear among local populaces, to give them the moral backing of hunting down these people in their communities. Which were mostly just harmless old women, of course.
But how else would you have witch trials in modern times if you don't sort of get the backing from the...
You have to show them how horrible it is. And this is like, he's going through a gallery of horror. And he's seeing, well, these are the witches that bring back the dead from the graves, and the dead is walking again, and the spiders crawling on the walls, and demonic eyes staring at you through the mirrors. So we definitely lose a bit of our dear sanity.
Yeah, for sure. As if we hadn't already lost most of our sanity.
Well, apparently we still have some left. I don't know how that happened, but... So suddenly, as we're going through, we're looking at this and we're horrified seeing this. Again, it reminds us of everything that happened in our past. Suddenly on the seat right next to us, there is a note left by perhaps someone else who took this ride, but someone who's written down this note. He says that the clown haunts the old railway station.
The clown.
He used to be a good soul, but he's controlled by the demonic rubber mask he's wearing.
It makes no sense.
So, apparently in this circus there was a clown who was wearing a mask that possessed him. And I'm just thinking,
is he part of the executioner squad, or is he a cover-up also?
what was the clown who wore the mask, was he the one who introduced Melvin to Eliza?
Trying to create a rift?
Well, because this mask possessed whoever wore it, and maybe created the impetus to. I mean, I know this is convoluted,
It's extremely
but I'm just
convoluted.
trying to find out, make some sense of what's going on here.
Yeah.
Apparently, we know they have the carnival. They used it to, lure in the people who are doing magic in the community, and they're also strengthening their case to persecute them. But someone planted this mask in their circles, which possessed the person who was wearing it, and that person created the contact between Eliza and Melvin, and basically, drew the child away from his parents.
Okay. Could it be Gregory the priest?
Who was the clown?
Yeah. Because he has been wanting to lure Eliza in to the church.
Yes.
To purify her.
Yes.
To convert her.
Yes.
So
that's why he wanted to make a connection.
He wanted Melvin to lure her. He wanted Melvin as a stooge, basically.
Right.
To be bait for Eliza.
Right.
Because Eliza belongs to this old school, sort of deep, hardcore occult family that this traveling circus has no chance in hell of getting close to them.
Right.
So if you want to get to the real hardcore cult family, you have to be a little bit ingenious in your approach.
I also love that Gregory the priest is also Gregory the clown.
That's, do with that what you will. Gregory the clown. He has many costumes.
He wears many faces.
He wears many faces.
We had to drink again.
Okay, yeah.
Understandably.
Understandably, yeah. We lost sanity because... And let us know if you follow along, guys, because this is getting quite convoluted.
There's not the easiest story to follow, I'd say.
No. There are some twists and turns here.
Yeah. But I think, I was very surprised to find out that we're actually the son of a circus.
Yeah.
A carnival ride into our past, where we have now discovered that Melvin fell in love with the wrong girl. Melvin was basically, or Gregory the priest was using Melvin as a ploy to wheel in Eliza, which Gregory has been hunting for years. And perhaps he even did it in concert with our parents. I don't know. Maybe this was a setup all the way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But what Melvin is coming to realize right now is that the woman that he was in love in and that he thought he just had this innocent romantic relationship with is really the epitome of everything that his parents detest and that they want to root out of this world. But Melvin, he is still in love. So Melvin is not necessarily just gonna follow his parents' way, but he heard their message. And he now knows all the points in this story about his love and about how his parents are trying to dissuade him, of course, from being with this woman, but the priest is trying to convince him to be with her because he wants to rid the world of her.
Yeah.
So what happens now is that on our quest to reconsecrate the Church of San Sebastian, we're gonna move into another magical realm, and we're gonna go down here towards the south.
Yeah, because like you said, Gregory wants them to reunite, but he has another motive. I think he has an ulterior motive to Melvin.
Absolutely, he doesn't want them to be happily married forever after.
No, he sees this as a way of getting hold of a target.
Yeah,
a witch or some.
And I think he's colluding with Melvin's parents.
Yeah, and it's sinister, but I think they're using Melvin as a kind of a bait in this scenario. Which
even makes me think that, I'm sorry to convolute the story even further, but
is it even possible to
it kind of makes me think that Melvin may not be the legitimate child of his parents.
He might not
be someone who was given to the circus when they were traveling through town.
Yeah.
And he was raised in the circus. He was raised to believe that his parents were those people who were running the circus. But they were also using him as a bait.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this family of Eliza has been tormenting this town, this region for centuries.
Yeah.
So many young men and women have been led astray by this family and now reside in crypts or who knows where.
Local graveyard.
Yeah, also that.
Okay, so let's travel south.
We're gonna travel south. So if you will do the 2d6 thing, and we'll see what we find. This time...
It's an 8.
Yeah, we can choose here.
Okay.
Either we find a store or we find a street.
Is it the furniture store?
My thought exactly. I mean, before we even roll, I'm going to write furniture store because this is the furniture store.
That's perfect.
It has
we have come full circle.
Yes. We are now going to Melvin's furniture store.
Melvin's Furniture Emporium.
This is great. There we have it. Okay. So we're definitely going to do the store thing, which is on page 52. So it's a 1d6. Yeah. A shot in the dark. We enter our furniture store. Someone is waiting for us in the store. And as we open the door, there is a blinding flash of light and a shot rings out. The bullet whizzes right past us and through the window and into the street.
Wow.
A bullet, and the window shatters and fall down. We stand there and we're face to face with this guy. Now we have to use all our charisma to persuade this guy to not shoot us, but tell us what is actually going on.
What's going on? Who are you?
Roll a d6. You have +2. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens.
4.
4. Okay.
6.
We managed to convince the guy. Oof. So, first of all, we managed to convince him, hey, we're Melvin. We're the owner of the store. This guy was just cowering in a corner. And we will now have some opportunities to take some stuff from the store that we may need in a minute.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool.
And what I'm just wondering is, who is this guy? Who would send someone out to kill Melvin at this point in the story? I'm thinking that Eliza's family is starting to figure out that in the spirit world things are happening. Yeah. And that Melvin, this 40-year-old gone lover, he's roaming around the spirit world and he's getting too close to Eliza. Yeah. Spirit or ghost or whatever. Yeah. And they're sending someone out to kill him. So, how does Melvin convince this guy not to kill him? Because who is this guy?
I have another theory.
Okay, cool.
I think that the person inside the furniture store is Melvin himself, protecting his store from intruders.
This is the real Melvin?
This is the real Melvin.
Who's shooting at Ghost Melvin?
Yes.
Wow. And the real Melvin, he is still caught up in this. Okay, wait, okay, I have to think straight here. So, because there are two possibilities, right?
Yeah.
Either the real Melvin wants to stop the spiritual Melvin from breaking the magic spell, because he has discovered that this spirit Melvin has seen that Eliza is actually a lady of the night who's been living for centuries, and that he has been convinced by his parents to go and finally drive that stake through her heart and get her rid of the world. But the real Melvin is telling Spirit Melvin, this is not going to happen. I don't care what the truth is. I love her.
I don't want to know.
I love her.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't fuck this up.
And Spirit Melvin, he was already doubting running errands for the priest and for his parents.
Yes.
Melvin in the real world, who is cowering in the shop because the world has gone haywire after this ritual.
And he just shut up his own store because an apparition sort of swam through the room. He heard the bell of the door, and he started shooting up his shop.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I love this. So Melvin is shooting at himself.
Yeah.
And it manages us to convince our real world persona not to kill us. And we sit down and we have a talk, and we decide that
Melvin to Melvin,
that Eliza may be what our parents would call a vampire, but that doesn't change our feelings for her.
No.
And instead of all those other shenanigans, we should go and be probably married to Eliza in the Church of San Sebastian.
We've been living our whole life in the shadow of this relationship. So the only thing that's left, the only thing we can even think of.
At the ripe age of 68, he's going to overcome that. I mean, 68 is nothing compared to Eliza. She's 300.
Yeah.
So they...
I like that Spirit Melvin and the real Melvin are pretty much in agreement.
Yes. No, but they're coming to be in agreement.
Yeah.
Because this is the whole split personality that's been going on in his mind. His parents were always against the marriage.
Yeah.
And when she died, he was bereaved, and he was never reconciled with his parents. He never got a good relationship with them ever after, and he got stuck in the past.
Yeah.
So what happens now is that the real Melvin allows us to go through the store and say, take whatever you need to reconsecrate that church and get Eliza in through the door and marry her at the altar.
You're our only hope.
You are our absolute only hope. So let me just see here.
By the way, Jeden says wow. And I agree, wow.
Yeah, this is wow. So
this is wow.
we now do find an item of choice. From
it is an antique store, so.
From the objects table.
Oh, you know what? The beautiful thing when Melvin, the real Melvin, shoots at Spirit Melvin,
yeah.
He shatters the window where it says Melvin's memories.
Oh yeah, I like that. That's very cinematic.
Yeah,
good stuff. So now all I have to do, and that is no small task, is to find the right table.
Table searching. Not unlike what Melvin used to do.
No, it's definitely not the insanity table. Okay, so I'm just gonna look through very quickly and see what might be useful items for this. I'm also gonna see if we do have any kind of list of, the magic item table. I think instead of choosing an item, we're gonna roll on the magic item table. So, because this is definitely a magic item that we need to complete this whole thing. We have the crucifix.
Yeah.
But we also have the book, but we may need something more. So roll a d6 and see what the Melvins come up with.
Yeah. 5.
Okay. Blessed candle.
Ooh.
And what do we need to perform the ritual of reconsecration?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So we have the blessed candle, which says you may use it in any ritual requiring candles.
There you go. Pretty good.
So we now have...
Do we have all the ingredients?
We have... the thing is, okay, we needed the holy book. For the holy book, we
Could
have
be our
occult book.
Yes.
That is our holy book.
Exactly.
We also needed faith. And...
Well, we've just realigned our faith with real Melvin.
That's the thing. The faith that the priest was asking for is not the faith that we're bringing to the table.
No. But it's our faith.
It's our faith. We're bringing the faith in eternal love with us.
Wow. Oh, my heart bleeds. My heart is bleeding.
This is a faith that is much stronger than any faith that you will find in the Bible.
There you go.
And we also have the blessed candle that when we light it, the apparition of Eliza will appear.
Wow. We also have the bone flute, in case we need it.
I'm not sure the bone flute is gonna...
It's not part of the ritual.
But I think perhaps that the bone flute was something he used in the chapel, in the first ritual.
That's part of the first ritual. Yeah.
I think so. And that was why he heard that howling sound with that flutish sound in the wind.
Yeah. So we have the makings of a ritual here.
Yeah, we're also a little bit deceptive because we go into the church with faith, but the powers that be do not discern between which kind of faith. The priest never specified which kind of faith. You just need to have faith. Of course, he thought, we would be a proper Christian faith.
In his narrow mind.
In his narrow mind. But there's no chance. When we walk up in front of the St. Sebastian church doors, they just swing right open because we got faith. We believe in Eliza. We believe in love. We believe in eternity. And we walk down this. Remember, this church has been closed for 40 years. So it's completely covered in cobwebs. The plaster is falling down the walls.
When the doors swing open, doves fly. It's like the doves fly out the windows, the broken windows.
Yes. And we can see sort of the shards of mosaics, glass mosaics that have fallen to the floor and crumbled.
Moonlight streams through colored glass.
And as we walk in and the moonlight hits the colored glass, it reflects through red shards of glass onto the statue of Saint Sebastian, and it is as if his wounds had started to bleed again.
Wow.
We walk up the aisle towards the altar. Father Gregory's there. He's looking at us. And he looks at us and he says, I'm so happy that you've come, my son.
I see determination in your eyes.
Because Melvin is in fact Gregory's true son.
Wow. You've come, my son. Finally.
And he says, give me the book.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to present a Bible to him. But the book that we give him is the Book of Magic Rituals.
Yeah. A book shunned.
And Gregory opens it, and we can see in his eyes that he tries to withdraw from it, but his gaze is caught in by the pages of the book, and he just starts to read with no will of his own. And he reads again up from the Book of Legaia. Do you have the Legaia thing? Because
this is what he reads.
This is exactly what Gregory he reads. I cannot, for my soul, remember how, when, or even precisely where I first became acquainted with the Lady Ligeia. Long years have since elapsed, and my memory is feeble through much suffering. Or perhaps I cannot now bring these points to mind, because in truth, the character of my beloved, her rare learning, her singular yet placid cast of beauty, and the thrilling and enthralling eloquence of her low musical language made their way into my heart by paces so steadily and stealthily progressive that they have been unnoticed and unknown. Yet, I believe that I met her first and most frequently in some large, old, decaying city near the Rhine.
Wow.
And we light the candle.
We light the candle.
So I'm going to put the candle here in the church.
Perhaps we can even light it in a form of incense.
Yeah, do the incense.
Where is it?
We can light it in the skull.
So I don't know if you realize, guys, but this is a pivotal moment of our story. We are not only facing off with Gregory the priest, which turned out to be our father, but we have also leaning into perhaps performing a significant ritual.
Yeah, let's take this. This is a little bit off camera. Yes, 2 burning eyes. There you go.
The burning eyes of the skull.
Okay.
Reigniting what was once dead.
So we light the candle.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment we light the candle, the apparition of Eliza appears before us.
Yeah.
We see her coming up through the aisle in her long marriage gown.
A faint organ plays.
It's almost as if she's hovering slightly above the stone floor as she approaches towards us. And Gregory is still reading from this book.
Transfixed.
Absolutely transfixed, recounting the whole story of our love affair with Eliza in the poetic language of the Ligeia volume. Because Eliza was originally called Ligeia. And when she was bitten at the age of 18, she was still Ligeia. And now she stands before us, and we have our hand on our cane with the long blade.
Ready to draw it.
Ready to draw it.
Yeah.
And slowly we draw the sword from our cane, standing in front of Eliza. And Gregory looks up and says, "You may now kiss the bride." And we take our cane and we slice it across the throat of Gregory.
Yeah.
Blood spurts out onto the scene. And we embrace. And
for the first real embrace that we've ever felt.
And as we feel her teeth cut through the gentle skin of our neck,
yeah,
we feel that excitement, that thrill that we have never experienced before. The true thrill of love and ecstasy flows through us as she bites into our neck.
The true meaning of life.
And Gregory collapses on the floor,
spilling his blood all over the pages of our mystic book.
And we stand there in front of the altar with the blood of our father running over our feet down the aisle like a red crimson wedding gown spreading down the aisle. And we embrace Eliza, and finally we're accepted into her family.
Yeah.
And we get to live forever with Eliza.
We live forevermore. We've broken the sick chain of our family, the witch hunters.
And become one with the witches.
Yeah.
As we're embracing Eliza, we drop that silver cross from our hands, and it lands
shatters
on the ground, and it shatters into a million pieces.
Yeah, covered in blood.
And that's how our story ends.
Yeah, that's how it ends.
This is how Alone Against Fear ends. I feel that we were pretty alone. And
We were alone.
we were definitely against fear,
We're against fear and against the church,
against our parents.
against our parents. Again, it's always like the inner demons that you're fighting here.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, you know, all these creatures here lurking. They're the monsters in your imagination. And as we started out by talking about how many of these stories make these monsters too concrete and make them something that you can actually fight. So they made them physical in a way that completely takes away their function. Because their function is not to be something scary that you fight. Their function is to remind you of your insignificant place in the universe, of our own significance, of, you know, sitting here, streaming, telling stories on this planet in an empty universe, trying to, you know, invoke just some kind of feeling, some kind of emotion in ourselves, and perhaps in some of you viewers, to just feel alive for this tiny little few hours that we're spending here in front of this table.
Yeah. And that's the only meaning that we can think of. What else is there?
Really nothing.
There is nothing else.
And as soon as you take that horror and you concretize it and you think you can conquer it, then it's a lie. You can't conquer it. You can't conquer meaninglessness.
That's the true enemy. It's not an enemy. Meaninglessness.
It's just a fact.
Meaninglessness is beautiful in its own way, but it's very hard to grasp, I think.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, as we always talk about in hopeless games, when people ask us like, why are you called hopeless games? That's such a defeating name. We always talk about how, for us, hopelessness basically means that, you know, if you live without hope, then at least you live in the present. You live in the now. Because you're not hoping for something to happen along the way. You give up all those aspirations. And then there's this beautiful moment with an old guy called Melvin who, you know, ends up being finally married in ecstasy and love in the church of San Sebastian with a woman that he has been yearning for 40 years.
She has been his life.
Absolutely.
Even in death, she was his life.
Yes.
But hope also is like a gateway to ambition.
Yeah.
And I think ambition is another word for narrow-mindedness.
Yeah. I mean, the first game we ever streamed on the Hopeless stream was Endurance, which was about this explorer of the South Pole who went there and completely endangered his entire crew. And in the real world story, everyone survived. But in our retelling of the story, most people just succumbed. No. I mean, and ambition and art also hangs together in the sense that, I mean, great art is sometimes, very often actually, produced by people who are willing to go that extra length.
But at the same time, which is so tough to realize, is that the ambitious artist is also the suffering artist, and it just goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to create art without suffering.
And the ambition is never fulfilled. No. So it's always like a bleeding hole. If we talk about the game, right? Yeah, sure. How this story turned out. I mean, this is a game that basically throw very random events at you.
We were struggling a few times with making it all make sense, but I think we've threaded a needle here, actually.
Yeah, but it also shows that there is sometimes this notion that a narrative game is a game that has a story that it'll tell to you, and then you sit and listen. And I think that is really misunderstanding how games works. Because that can work if you're reading a story, if you're watching a movie, you know, the artist can have a story that he or she presents to you, and that's fine. But games, if you are not participating in creating the story, then because we're not here to hear the story of fear alone against fear. We are here to be provoked into creating a story.
And I think that's what we did tonight. We got all these little breadcrumbs, and we strung together a story of our own, which is always beautiful when you can do
It's
that.
just a creative moment, and it happens. And I think that one of the reasons that many people probably struggle to play these games, or why they're not more popular than that they are, is that you have to invest a lot in them. Yeah. And it's not because we're some magical geniuses who can do that. Everyone can do this. But it's
not only because we're these magical geniuses.
Okay, that's how you frame it. But what I'm trying to say is that everyone who sits down and are willing to engage with a game on this level can make a story out of it. So it's important to understand. And of course, it's nice when a game makes it easy for you to create a story. I think this game is on the harder side.
If you're looking for a story, then yes, this game is on the harder side.
It's on the hard. I mean, I'm sure you can also play it in a more pulpy mode. And I think the way the game is set up, you would go through a lot more locations. Is how it's intended to.
We played it in slow motion, basically.
Yeah, but that's our choice because we weren't really interested in just running through a lot of locations. We wanted the narrative to make sense, and I was really surprised and struggling when we arrived at the carnival because I had not foreseen that.
But the crazy twist that his whole family was these witch finders.
That came from the carnival.
Yeah. And that's who knew that we would get there?
The story only got bigger.
Yeah.
So
I also like the idea that the priest was also the clown.
Yeah. There were many layers. There was all stuff, and I think it's probably this story. If you really pick it apart, you may find a few plot holes, but
but it seems that there is this humans just wants to find cohesiveness or make sense of everything.
Right.
So if you throw us curveballs, you throw us a clown mask and a carnival, we're going to invent the traveling witch finders and the disguised priest.
Look, this game is basically, 120 pages of random tables. That is the game. And if you try it out for yourself and see what happens, you'll find out, as in so many of these other streams that we do, that randomness is a wonderful story generator because it provokes you into thinking. And sometimes you may feel like it's a stretch of the imagination, like, what the hell are we doing at a carnival right now? We just created this story about this sort of old antiquarian who goes around searching for long lost love. And now his parents have an amusement park.
I love the anti-hero of an old antiquarian. Why is that not like the Hollywood hero? Why is he not in any... What films are he in? I want to watch them.
I mean, he even had a romantic interest.
Yeah.
And I loved also the fact that while on the surface of it, she was way too young for him.
Sure.
But in the reality of it, she was way older than him.
That's the crazy thing. But I love that randomness and hopelessness goes hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. And I think that, this is something that we're always trying to explore in this stream, and I think we're also trying to find out, what can we bring by doing these streams? It's not that, I don't know. It's trying to find out how to present games in ways that are interesting and how to point out that some games which may be considered inaccessible or obtuse or difficult, if you approach games with a story mind and don't adhere too closely to the rules. That's almost the most important thing of all. Yeah. Like, don't let the rules fuck you over.
Don't listen to Gregory.
Don't listen to Gregory, because it's the rules will tell you all sorts of things, but you have to always remember that the rules is just, they are guidelines. They're what we call heuristic guidelines. Yeah. They tell you this or that, but at the end, we are the one. It's our story. It's our interpretation of a set of rules or a set of events. The game doesn't have a specific story to tell us. And I also think that we're learning a lot, just us two playing these games, because we don't usually play solo games together. It's only on these streams we do it. When we play together, we mostly play super competitive face-to-face. And it's not nice. You don't want to see that. It's not pretty. But this is a completely different exercise, and I'm so happy that, again, I'm also just happy that print and play games is a thing. You can, for literally, everyone somehow has access to a printer almost,
Yeah.
right? Or your local library
or
has
you
it.
you could also just use a laptop and have it PDF
You
on
can
there.
sit with a PDF and scroll on your tablet, and you can do the same thing. It's the barrier is so low, and look, I mean, there are no components in this game. Everything that we put out here, just like stuff we brought ourselves. So it's the barrier of entry is so low. But
And there's so many of these games, even completely free games that you can find.
I'm wondering whether the tablecloth is on fire, or whether it's just really smoking out of the skull's eye for.
Tablecloth is on fire.
It's a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. No, but I think. Could we talk about, if you want to find, first of all, and a point that I wanted to make was that playing solo games together with a friend is actually super fun.
It's much better than playing them alone.
Yeah. So take that in your pipe. And
solo games are actually 2-player games.
Yes. So that's a whole revelation that I think we've just pioneered, this new way of playing solo games. Play with a friend.
Play with a friend. Don't play them solo. Don't play solo games solo.
No, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Go grab a friend.
Yeah.
No, but actually, that's a viable way to play solo games.
And I think...
well, of course, a lot of people don't have that option. And they play solo games because they rather be alone. That's fine. But I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, there are also many solo games you can play that are much more about game mechanics and resource management and hand management and all these mechanics that you find in games.
Yeah.
And they can be super interesting. They're much more puzzly. It's more like solving a Sudoku or something. They're more like puzzle games, right? But it's interesting to find that in these solo games you can also create narratives. There are many solo RPGs out there, and many people have questions like, how do you play a solo role-playing game? How do you do that? Because you have to be both the game master and the player. How does that even work? But it's really all a matter of how much you're willing to invest in it. Because of course, if you're not willing to invest a story in it, then it's just going to be boring. I mean, imagine this game without a story. It would just be random madness, right?
Then what is it?
It's really nothing.
Yeah.
What this game is, it prompts you to tell a story. And if you don't tell that story, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure, I don't know. I won't judge. Some people would probably like it.
Lemmy Badak says, thanks for the tale and the revelation. Well, the revelation is inside of you.
Well, the revelation is just go, pick up a solo game and take it home and play it with the wife or the kid or the whatever. And you don't have to be an insular nerd who sit in your own little man cave and play that game all night by yourself. This can be shared between other people.
And don't take the rules too seriously.
No, I think that's really important. Just bend them to your own. It's your game. I also think, I don't know that designers think that their game should be taken so seriously that you can't change the rules.
They're probably hoping that you curb the rules a little bit just to make it make sense.
They just invented the rules as a kind of framework for you to have an experience within. And if you're not having that experience with that framework, you should change the framework.
House rule everything to your heart's content.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter.
No.
It's you who's spending time with the game. You should be satisfied with the rules. So make the rules great.
Yeah.
If they aren't already.
Yeah.
What else can we say?
Do we have any what's happening next? Or
what's happening next? Well, we have been thinking about playing, because right now we are on the table you see right now. That's basically the size of the table. It's not very big. So you can play chess or Ludo on this table, but not much else. So we're thinking of exchanging it with a larger table. And maybe playing some larger games.
Yeah.
I think we'll keep playing games that are co-op or solo or whatever you want to call it, where we can play together, where we can talk about our decisions.
Yeah. Well, there are things up our sleeves. and there's a lot of very big, mostly sort of fantasy solo games out there that you can play that tell really great stories and that have a lot of components. But there are also some of them that are more minimalistic, and I don't want to name anything right now.
No.
But there are definitely opportunities with a bigger table.
And also, I think what we're thinking about or talking a lot about is that do we want to play something that's super obscure that no one has heard about, and that we can help it bring it to the forefront and say, hey, look at this, guys? Or do we want to play something that perhaps people already know, but they perhaps haven't seen someone like us play it before? Or they would perhaps just be entertained by us.
Yeah, but which is interesting, of course. I mean, we're trying to dig up obscure games because we're going to want to give love to people who create games on no budget, because we love the do-it-yourself vibe, and we also love that this game can be played with post-it notes. It's another feature.
It's not way of bending the rules, but I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love that we can play it with post-it notes. And then, of course, there are these games that are more well known that we can play. Just perhaps play in a different mode. Or also one thing we've been talking about a lot in these streams is that we know these streams, they're endless, and we talk a lot and stuff, but we actually like to go as slow as possible. So we'd much rather play like a few turns of a game, not completing it, but just being in the moment and being immersed in the story as it happens. And if there is no real conclusion, we'll probably come up with some conclusion. But anyway, the point is really not to rush through a game and show the whole thing. So I think one of the things that we're pointing at is also that when you play games, this idea that games have a fixed ending is also something that it's not true. You can end the game whenever. As a historian of board games, historically, people played games that didn't end. People played forever games. People would play a game and players would change during the course of the game. The people who started playing the game wouldn't be the same people who stopped playing the game. And I would even love if there were like other streamers out there that we could play games, so we could stop a game like in medias res, give it over to someone else and have them continue it.
And if that's not poetry, I don't know what is.
I would love to continue a game that somebody else started and already played for 3 hours. And I can see Price Crew already said that I'd love to see you guys continue a game that was played and finished. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's out there who wants to deliver us a game that they already played part of and have us continue that game, I would love that.
We will see. We will put our money where our mouth is. And
absolutely. Give us a half-played game for Barbarian Prince and we'll finish it for you.
Probably won't complete it in the sense that
we'll finish it very quickly.
Yeah, we'll finish it very quickly. And we're gonna. That's another last thing. One more thing. We're gonna probably revisit Barbarian Prince for one.
Also, a reskin of Barbarian Prince just came out in the print and play community.
That's another thing. So
there are possibilities.
There will be Barbarian Prince like games in the future.
Absolutely.
But thank you everyone for watching and commenting and being a part of this amazing story that came out of nowhere.
Completely out of nowhere, I would say.
And so thanks for being a part of it, and thanks for being so cool. And good night, everyone, and see you
in a month.
In a month, basically.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cheers. Oh, we forgot to say.
What is it we say?
Stop winning.
Stop winning. Start losing.
Stay hopeless.